Hello and welcome to a new and exciting journey. Have you ever wondered how a small group of people built one of the most powerful countries in the world? How did America go from wild forests and native villages to space missions and Silicon Valley? This is not just a history lesson. This is the story of dreams, struggles, wars, heroes, freedom, and change. In this series, we will take you through the full history of the United States of America from the very beginning until today. And don't worry, I will explain everything in simple English so you can understand and enjoy every moment. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced learner, you will find this journey both interesting and easy to follow. You'll learn about Native American tribes, brave explorers, the fight for independence, slavery and freedom, great wars, powerful presidents, civil rights, and modern technology. But most of all, you'll learn how every part of this story shaped the world we live in today. So, are you ready to go back in time and explore history step by step? Let's begin this adventure together. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay with us on this journey through time. Tell us in the comments, which part of American history are you most excited to learn about? Now let's go back to the beginning, to a time before America was even a country. Long before there were cities, roads, or even the name America, this land was home to millions of people. These were the Native Americans. They lived here for thousands of years. They had their own languages, cultures, traditions, and ways of life. Some lived in the forests, others in the deserts, and some near the rivers and oceans. They hunted animals, grew food, and built homes using nature. Some tribes lived in small villages, while others created large cities and trade networks. They respected the land and believed it was a gift from nature. But everything started to change in 1492 when a man named Christopher Columbus arrived. He was looking for a new way to travel to Asia, but instead, he landed in the Americas. Soon, more explorers and settlers came from Spain, France, England, and other European countries. At first, some Native Americans welcomed the newcomers. They helped them survive the cold winters and shared their food. But over time, things got worse. The Europeans wanted more land. They brought new weapons, new diseases, and new rules. Many native people died from these diseases, and many others lost their homes. Some tribes tried to fight. Others tried to make peace. But the changes were too big, too fast. The world of the Native Americans was never the same again. This was the beginning of a new and difficult chapter in the history of this land. In the next part, we'll talk about how the first English colonies were built and how the road to American independence began. But before we move on, here's a quick question for you. Have you ever heard of any Native American tribes? If yes, write their names in the comments. And if you're enjoying this journey, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay with us. After many explorers came, England decided to build permanent settlements in America. In 1607, the first successful English colony was founded in Jamestown, Virginia. Slowly, more colonies were created along the East Coast. These colonies were like small countries with their own governments, farms, and towns. Life was hard at first. Colonists faced cold winters, hunger, and conflicts with Native Americans. But they worked hard, grew crops like tobacco, and built communities. Over time, the colonies grew richer and more independent. However, England wanted to control them and make money. The British government made new laws and taxes, like the famous Stamp Act and tea tax, without asking the colonists what they thought. This made many people angry. They believed it was unfair to pay taxes when they had no say in the British government. This feeling grew into a strong desire for freedom. In 1773, A group of colonists protested by throwing tea into Boston Harbor. This event is called the Boston Tea Party and became a symbol of resistance. Soon after, the colonies started to prepare for a bigger fight, the American Revolution. Leaders like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin became important figures. On July 4th, 1776, the colonies declared their independence from England with the famous Declaration of Independence. This was the birth of a new nation, the United States of America. The war was long and hard, but in 1783, America won and became free. In the next part, we will learn about the first years of the new country, the writing of the Constitution, and the challenges of building a nation. Before we continue, here is a question for you. If you could live in any of the original 13 colonies, which one would you choose and why? Write your answer in the comments. After the war ended in 1783, the people of the new United States of America were free. But freedom was only the first step. Now they had to build a country with laws, leaders, and a system that worked for everyone. At first, the states had a weak government under something called the Articles of Confederation. But it didn't work well. There were many problems. The states argued with each other, and the national government had no power to collect taxes or make strong decisions. So in 1787, leaders from each state came together in Philadelphia to write a better plan. They created a new document called the U.S. Constitution. This powerful paper gave rules for how the government should work. It included ideas like freedom of speech, equality, and separation of powers between the president, Congress, and the courts. In 1789, George Washington became the first president of the United States. People respected him because he was a strong leader during the war. He didn't want to be a king. Instead, he showed that presidents should serve the people and leave office peacefully after their time is over. After Washington, John Adams became the second president, and then Thomas Jefferson, who helped write the Declaration of Independence, became the third. Each leader helped shape the young country in different ways. During these early years, America was still small, just 13 states on the East Coast. But people started moving west to explore and settle new lands. This was the beginning of a big dream, to expand and grow the country. But with growth came new problems, conflicts with Native Americans, questions about slavery, and political fights between states. In the next part, we'll explore how America continued to grow and how those problems led to one of the darkest times in its history, the Civil War. As America grew, so did the differences between the North and the South. The northern states were more industrial. They built factories, railroads, and large cities. The southern states had big farms, called plantations, where they grew cotton and tobacco. These farms used slave labor, people, mostly from Africa, who were forced to work without freedom. Many people in the North believed slavery was wrong and should end. But the South wanted to keep slavery because it was part of their economy. These differences caused many arguments between the two sides. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. He was against the spread of slavery into new states. The southern states didn't like this, so one by one, they left the United States and formed a new country called the Confederate States of America. In 1861, war began between the North, the Union, and the South, the Confederacy. This war is called the American Civil War. It lasted for 4 long years. More than 600,000 people died, brothers fighting against brothers, families torn apart. During the war, President Lincoln gave a famous speech called the Emancipation Proclamation. It said that all slaves in the southern states were now free. This gave hope to many and changed the meaning of the war. It became a fight not just for unity, but also for freedom. In 1865, the North won. The Southern states returned to the Union, and slavery was officially ended with the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. But the end of the war didn't mean peace for everyone. Many former slaves faced racism, violence, and poverty for years to come. Sadly, just days after the war ended, Abraham Lincoln was shot and killed. But he is still remembered as one of America's greatest presidents. After the Civil War ended in 1865, the United States faced a big challenge: how to rebuild a broken country. This time is called the Reconstruction era. The government tried to help the Southern states rejoin the Union. They also passed new laws to protect the rights of freed slaves. For the first time, Black Americans could vote and even become members of Congress. But not everyone was happy. Many white people in the South didn't want change. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan used fear and violence to stop progress. Soon, the government stopped helping, and racism and unfair treatment continued for many years. Still, many African Americans stayed strong. They built schools, churches, and communities, hoping for a better future. Meanwhile, big changes were happening across the country. The Industrial Revolution came to America. New machines, factories, and railroads helped businesses grow fast. Cities became bigger. People moved from farms to towns to find work. America was becoming a modern country. At the same time, millions of immigrants came from Europe, Asia, and other places. They arrived with big dreams, looking for jobs, safety, and freedom. Places like New York City became home to people from all over the world. But life in the cities wasn't always easy. Many people lived in crowded, dirty neighborhoods. They worked long hours for little money. Children had to work, too. Still, people had hope. This was the American dream, the idea that with hard work, you could build a better life. Out west, the government encouraged people to move and settle new lands. The Transcontinental Railroad connected the country from coast to coast. But this also brought more pain to Native Americans. Their lands were taken, and many were forced to live on reservations. By the early 1900s, America was a new kind of nation, full of energy, diversity, and ambition. But it still had big problems to solve. As the 1900s began, the United States was full of dreams and challenges. The country was growing fast, but not everything was peaceful. In 1914, World War I started in Europe. At first, America stayed out of it. But in 1917, after American ships were attacked and a secret message was discovered, the U.S. joined the war. American soldiers helped the Allies win. In 1918, the war ended. People hoped for peace, but new problems came quickly. In 1929, the stock market crashed, and America entered the Great Depression. Businesses closed. Millions lost their jobs. Families had no money or food. It was the worst economic crisis in U.S. history. Then came a new leader, Franklin D. Roosevelt, or FDR. He created the New Deal, a group of programs to help people find work, rebuild the economy, and bring hope back to the country. Slowly, things got better. But just as life was improving, a new storm began: World War II. In 1939, war broke out again in Europe and Asia. America tried to stay neutral. But in 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, a U.S. naval base in Hawaii. This surprise attack shocked the nation. America declared war the next day. The U.S. joined the fight against Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Imperial Japan. American soldiers fought in Europe, Africa, and the Pacific. Back home, factories worked day and night to support the war. Women began working in large numbers, replacing men who had gone to fight. Finally, in 1945, the war ended. The U.S. had helped defeat evil powers and had become a world leader. But the war also left deep scars. Over 400,000 American soldiers had died, and the U.S. had dropped atomic bombs on two Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, an act that ended the war but brought fear about nuclear weapons. After the war, a new era began. America was strong, rich, and full of dreams, but a new kind of war was coming: the Cold War. After World War II, America became one of the most powerful countries in the world. But there was another superpower, the Soviet Union. These two nations didn't fight each other directly, but they became enemies in a different kind of war. This was the Cold War, a battle of ideas, technology, and power. The US believed in democracy and capitalism. The Soviet Union believed in communism. Each side wanted to spread its system around the world. They built powerful weapons, including nuclear bombs, and both sides were afraid the other might start a war. This fear led to many tense moments, like the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, when the world came close to nuclear war. But leaders from both sides finally made peace and avoided disaster. While America was fighting the Cold War outside, another important fight was happening inside the country: the fight for civil rights. For many years after slavery ended, Black Americans were still treated unfairly. They couldn't use the same schools, buses, or restaurants as white people. They were often stopped from voting and faced violence and hate. But brave leaders stood up and said, "Enough is enough." One of the most powerful voices was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He believed in peaceful protest. His dream was for people to be judged by their character, not their skin color. In the 1950s and 60s, millions marched, protested, and demanded change. They were beaten, arrested, and sometimes killed, but they never gave up. Their courage changed the nation. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, ending legal segregation. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act gave everyone the right to vote. These were huge victories, but the fight for justice still continues today. At the same time, America was also racing to the stars. In 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first human to walk on the moon. He said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." It was a proud moment for the whole country. So, during these years, America was growing, learning, struggling, and shining. As the 1980s came to an end, something historic happened. The Cold War finally ended. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, and many people believed a new age of peace and hope had begun. America was now the only superpower in the world. People felt proud and powerful. The economy was strong. New technologies were changing life fast. Computers, mobile phones, and the internet were becoming part of everyday life. The 1990s were full of progress and excitement. The internet connected people across the world. New ideas spread quickly. Businesses grew online. A new generation of young people started dreaming in digital. But in 2001, everything changed. On September 11th, 2001, terrorists attacked the United States. They crashed airplanes into the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. Thousands of people died. It was one of the darkest days in American history. The world watched in shock and sadness. America united in grief, but also in strength. The government began the war on terror and sent soldiers to Afghanistan and later to Iraq. These wars lasted for many years and had deep effects on the country and the world. In 2008, something historic happened again. Barack Obama was elected the first black president of the United States. He brought a message of hope and change. His election inspired millions of people across America and the world. In the 2010s, social media, smartphones, and apps changed how people lived, worked, and talked. But there were also problems, political fights, social divisions, and economic struggles. People asked big questions. How can we protect freedom and peace? How can we solve climate change? How can we live together with respect and justice? America continued to grow, argue, and try new ideas. Sometimes it moved forward, sometimes it struggled, but it never gave up. Today, the United States of America is one of the most powerful and diverse countries in the world. People from all over the globe live here, with different languages, cultures, and dreams. This is what makes America unique. It is a country built by immigrants, full of stories, struggles, and hopes. But life in modern America is not perfect. There are still big challenges. There are fights over politics, race, climate change, education, and healthcare. People sometimes feel divided. Social media spreads both truth and lies. The economy goes up and down. Technology grows fast, but not everyone is ready for it. And yet, there is something powerful at the heart of this nation: the idea of freedom, the belief in dreams, the power of people to make change. Young people are speaking out. They care about equality, justice, and saving the planet. Many of them want to make a better world, not just for America, but for everyone. America has always been a mix of light and shadow, victories and mistakes, joy and pain. But it is also a place of second chances, big ideas, and brave people. From a small group of colonies to a world superpower, from slavery to civil rights, from horse wagons to space rockets. The American story is a reminder that anything is possible with courage and hope. And now, the next chapter belongs to you. Yes, you who are reading and learning this story. Maybe one day, your voice, your ideas, and your actions will be part of history too. Because America's story is not finished. It is still being written every day. If you enjoyed this journey through American history, show your support by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our channel. Which part of American history inspired you the most? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for being with us. Keep learning, keep dreaming, and always remember, history is not just about the past, it's about shaping the future.